Hey guys, welcome back to It's All Just Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Tim Warren. Today, we have a very special guest, Kevin Frye, who is the head of marketing, the head coach of marketing, if I remember the title correctly, at Jeff Wyler, one of the largest automotive groups in the U.S. Kevin, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tim. I appreciate the invite. Look forward to spending some time with you today.
No, man, it's getting on your calendar is not an easy feat. So I really appreciate you making time for us. But just real quick for the audience, could you give us a quick background, your job title, company, just a brief summary of Jeff Wyler, what you guys do, who you guys are, just for those who may not be familiar?
So I'm the head coach of marketing with the Jeff Wyler Automotive Family. That title might sound a little bit different, but that's part of our culture here, which is to coach people to excellence. Been with Jeff Wyler for 17 years. A lot of people don't realize there's about 18,000 dealers in the United States, and we rank in the top 25. We do more than $2 billion per year. So we are quite large. And my way of getting here, I kind of fell into automotive. A lot of people do. My wife and I had a series of eBay stores where you bring your stuff in and we sell it for you on eBay. We just happened to be around when eBay Motors first started. And back in those days, Tim, there was no instruction book on how to sell a car online. So I was one of those really early pioneers that was writing the book. We had 1 year, we sold over 500 cars online with eBay with less than 10 test drives. And every dealer that we talked to said there's no way you can do it. What happened was that turned into us starting another business to help dealers. Jeff Wyler is one of my customers. He's always been innovative. He knew the internet was going to be the future, and that's when he brought me on board.
I didn't actually know the eBay story. That's fantastic. You guys owned like multiple eBay shipping business like locations?
We did. And, I actually feel that was an advantage, Tim, because since I didn't come up in the traditional automotive retail environment, I didn't have any predispositions of the way that you had to do it, which for them is you have to do a walk around. You have to do a test drive. Nobody would ever buy a car online. And I proved very quickly in less than a year that, and this is going back 20 years ago, there are actually a lot of people that will do that. And it's going to be an avenue in the future to sell cars.
Unbelievable. Man, isn't it interesting how sometimes the best innovators or disruptors are people who just don't know it can't be done, right? You're like, no one told you it's impossible to sell a car without a test drive. You're like, I'm going to do it. And then you did. And then they believed you, right?
There's a lot of truth in that. And I got to tell you, even eBay Motors back in the day, they were like a bull in a china shop. There's so many regulations and laws with automotive retail. And I think all of us had our fair share of bloody noses and black eyes. But in the end, it was the right direction. You can see now it's the primary way that people start buying a car.
All right, so you've been at Jeff Wyler for 17 years. You've had an amazing run. Jeff Wyler Group's doing over $2 billion in revenue, right? It's an amazing story. But you've probably not made all the right decisions along the way, right? I'm going to guess. So for everybody listening, right, like our audience is primarily marketers and probably some business owners, but marketers across all kinds of disciplines. I'm going to ask two questions around this, but first the fun one, which is, what are some of your biggest marketing mistakes, right? And I don't mean like screw ups where, you ran the wrong ad at the wrong time. Not that, right? I'm talking about things that you thought about, you planned it, and you're like, this is definitely going to work. And you put the energy in and you were just totally wrong. Like, tell us some of those stories.
So I'll give you one, and this is way before COVID, but this is when QR codes first came out. And we were excited about that. So one of the sponsorships one of our auto malls does is with the Clermont County Fair. We decided we spent about $10,000 to create all these QR codes. We put them on T-shirts. We bought a T-shirt cannon. We had like hand fans for people in the crowds. I mean, any possible way you could market a QR code, we did. And at the end of the week, I think we had about 7 scans. So it completely bombed. Yet we laugh now. COVID brought back the QR code, especially with restaurants that didn't want to give out menus. And now QR codes are back in vogue. But back then, that was just one of those things we tested that was a complete bomb. not knowing where it would go. But Tim, I often say, if you want to lead, you're going to bleed. You've got to take your fair share of things that didn't work as well as the ones that are home runs.
I would argue the most successful QR code of all time was that Coinbase Super Bowl ad. Do you remember that one?
I forgot about that.
that,
Yeah.
that just had a. I remember watching. I was at my in-laws condo downtown, and we're watching the Super Bowl, and then just the ad pops up, the screen goes black, and there's just a QR code bouncing, right, like you see in the basketball games, and it's like waiting for it to hit the corner. Like what? And it was funny because all the people in the room of a certain age were like, "What is that?" Didn't even know what it was. And then all of us millennials were like, "Oh, cute." So like whip out our phone, we scan it, and go to Coinbase. I'm like, "What a brilliant ad!" Because everybody ran to their TV to scan it just to see what it was.
Yeah.
You know, Coinbase got so much traffic, it crashed their servers that day. Like their servers crashed, I think.
There's actually been several stories of Super Bowl ads where they get so much activity they crash servers. So I'm not surprised. But hey, as a marketer, that's the kind of dreams I have. I'd love to have that problem on my hands.
So I don't know if you can share the data, but how much? So you only got 7 scans, but how much did you spend on all of that QR code?
Oh, like $10,000.
And you probably sold 0 cars because of it.
Yeah. But, I got to tell you something. I'm really fortunate where I work. Not once, and trust me, we've had a history of failures and mistakes across the years. I've never once been reprimanded, had my hand slapped, or been yelled at because something didn't work out. And that's where I'm really blessed and fortunate to work for Jeff Wyler. He's an innovator at heart. He knows that that's part of the process, and he's always encouraging us. It's very simple. Question every single thing we do every day, and how can we make it better?
I love that. And I love what you said about Jeff creates a culture at the very top of try, learn. It's, Facebook, right? Move fast and break things. Like if you're going to innovate, you're going to have to try things. It's not always going to work. You don't know, right? But if you're trying things other people aren't willing to try, you're going to get results they're not able to get, right?
If I go back to the day he brought me on board, he gave me very simple, clear instructions. He said, put us in front and just tell me what you need. And the one thing I asked for him in that day was continuing education, which is something else I'd like to talk about as well. But he has never backed off budget-wise for my continuing education. Even in the recession of 2009, which were terrible times for automotive, he still put up the budget to make sure I got the training I needed to keep us at the front.
Wow, I need to take notes. This is a master class on good leadership. But he always paid for you to sharpen the axe, right? So, right, like, was it Abraham Lincoln who said, like, if you give me an hour to chop down a tree, I'll spend the first 35 minutes sharpening my axe, right? So that I can actually cut the tree down in an hour. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right? That's exactly what Jeff has done for you is pay to put me in the places where I can get better. I want to get better. All right. I think
everybody in this podcast knows that marketing today, it moves so rapidly. It's probably outdated before you even learn it in college. And you just have to immerse yourself in it to stay ahead of it. It's very difficult. But that's part of the passion of it, is just being immersed in it and trying to keep up with the latest trends.
That is so true, Kevin, because just like thinking about myself, one of the things, so Helium, right? Like one of our growth strategies has always been cold email, right? So we'll reach out to companies, right? Like a Jeff Wyler and say, hey, are you happy with your SEO? Would you like better data? Would you like an SEO audit? I was at dinner with the sales team last night. We did like a team building event. We're out racing go-karts, and then we're having dinner. And we were talking about the old days, like 3 or 4 years ago, we would send cold email campaigns, and we would get 5 like discovery calls a day. Like we book 5 a day. Now we're like, if we book 5 a month from that same cold email campaign, right? And it's just because it's been figured out. So many more companies are doing cold email. Like right, Kevin? How many cold emails do you get every month about SEO? Right? Probably 50, right?
Well, now it's transition to LinkedIn, I think, is where I get hit the most.
But like you get hit so often that it's just noise now, right? And so we've had to learn how to pivot off of that, because what used to work for us just not been effective anymore because it's just so spam. Like it's just been overly used, right? So just have to pivot. So let me ask the follow question on that, Kevin, and I really appreciate the honesty and openness on your like business mistake. What do you think for most marketing organizations, right? Most companies, what do you think are some of the common mistakes you see most businesses making? Maybe this isn't automotive, maybe it's outside of automotive, but you've been doing marketing for many years. What do you think are those mistakes that businesses are consistently making that they should stop doing?
I would share two that apply to anybody in marketing. Number one, what works for you works for everyone else. So we often have this in a predisposition that, hey, if I love this TV station or I love this radio station, everybody must, and therefore I should market there because that works for me. But then you find out that everybody's watching streaming audio or streaming video, and you're actually the minority of where the bulk of the market is. So that's one of the initial mistakes. The second one I would share is one that's often taught in a business school, and that is that whenever things slow down economy wise, pretty much the first thing businesses cut is always their marketing. The problem is that is typically the worst mistake you can make, because usually when things slow down, it's never more important than to have your marketing message out there as sharp as possible so that you can come out on top in a slowing market. I'll give you a great example for us. If you remember the spring of COVID when it first came out, it was horrible times for automotive, and pretty much every automotive retailer I know went dark completely. We, on the other hand, spent into it. And when the stimulus package came out, we actually not only maxed out, we far surpassed and beat our competition because we were the only presence marketing wise at the time, because we had the foresight, the vision, and the courage to get out there when everyone else didn't want to spend.
Man, I love that. That's Henry Ford has a quote that I've always loved, which he says, "The man who stops marketing to save money is like the man who stops his watch to save time."
You were the king of quotes today, Tim. I got to keep up with you, brother.
I love quotes. It's like it's something I do, but I like that, and I love this approach because there's my father-in-law who's a software entrepreneur. He's from South Africa, and he built multiple software companies, very successful. He always believed in staying up on the marketing, and in bad times, recessions, bad interest economies, whatever, he would always either market or double down on marketing. Same thing he did, and he eventually grew in a very successful software company and sold to private equity. I think I really agree, Kevin, with what you're saying, because this is something that we've seen, and I own an SEO company, and we work with clients who are doing this, right? And you'll see it in a bad economy. You will see clients of ours that are just like, nope, cut all marketing, pull back, pull into the shell and just wait the storm, right? And those are not the companies who win. It's the companies like yours, and when the storm hits and they're like, outspend, double down, push more, those companies come out of the storm super dominant, right? Those companies they blow past everybody else. We try to tell our clients that. They don't always listen, right? Because they're like, well, you want us to spend more money because you get paid more. We're like, yes, but also because it's good recommendation, right? But we're not an objective third party, but it's the advice is still, I think it's still spot on. So let me ask another question, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I mean, this has been great. I feel like I need to take notes over here as I'm getting, an update in my knowledge of marketing. But how do you stay up to date with the latest marketing trends? You mentioned continuing education and sharpening your axe, but can you give us a lot more detail on that? Like, how are you doing that? What are you reading? What are you going to? What have you found that works? Like, what's been a waste of your time?
So I just call it my dailies. I get into work early, and I'm doing a combination of a couple things. I have a customized Google News feed, makes life very convenient for me to pull down articles that are going to be relevant to me. There's automotive websites that I'm going to keep up with and see what the latest news is there. I also track my competition and what they're doing. So that's on a daily basis, which I actually share with our team every day. But then the outside part is conferences. And I want to emphasize something here as well. So yes, I do attend automotive conferences, which are great. I speak, I give back, I receive, I learn about the latest things going on. But Tim, where I find some of my greatest value are conferences outside of automotive. I think so many times we get narrow-minded in the vertical that we work in, that we're not seeing that some of the greatest ideas are outside of the area that you're working in specifically. So what I try to do is 1 to 2 times per year is to select a random conference that's outside of what I normally attend, go out there to see what I can learn. What I found more often than not is I get some of my best ideas from doing that.
That's really smart. Yeah. Cause you get out of the like echo chamber, right? Which I know staying in one industry can sometimes be
Right.
an echo chamber of the same ideas over and over and over again versus getting out and like, getting a totally fresh perspective.
100%.
Anything you can think off the top of your head of an idea that you guys have run at Wyler that's been successful from you doing that, going to conferences where you got an idea that no one in automotive would have done, but you got from another conference?
Well, we might want to say this a little later in the podcast, but we're beta testing some AI stuff right now, where I got a lot of insight from not only automotive conferences but outside of that, and that's leveraging a CDP, a customer data platform, artificial intelligence, and then the real time data that's available out there.
That's super cool. Well, we'll have you on the podcast again. Tell us how it's worked, and then we can circle that one back as a success story from going to conferences outside of.
Success story. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Right
Hopefully
now,
it's not the QR code one.
With AI, but once again, that's part of the process. You can test all these different things and see what works best. And for us, the number one thing is whether or not it's consumer facing. That's almost always going to make it a win.
And so my next question, Kevin, is just you guys, right? Jeff Wyler, you guys have done very well and you have a sizable marketing budget, right? So what about companies who are not in that case where they don't have, multi millions to spend, right? They don't have a large amount of resources. Maybe they don't have zero, right? But what would you say for businesses with limited marketing resources and they're still trying to win? What advice would you give to those companies? Where should they start? What tactics should they use? Like, what would you recommend?
First off, there's never been a greater time to still be able to market effectively at minimal expense than now. I just sat on the board for what's called a large chamber of commerce group that literally has no marketing budget that is trying to figure out the same thing. And so I recommended a couple things. One of the things I love, which is dirt cheap, are those YouTube 6-second bumpers. And what I like about this is a couple things. They're just short enough that they don't annoy the person on YouTube that's trying to get to the video they're looking for. They're just long enough to get a brief message out, and they only cost us about a half cent to 6/10 of a penny a piece. So they're dirt cheap, they're consumer facing, and they're a great win for us. The other thing is social media. You can do so much with social media right now from a grassroots effort, and it's also very cheap. But one of the strategies I suggest, and this is what I mean from grassroots, they're trying to attract people, businesses, to advertise on their platform. One of the things they kept saying is these businesses don't have a lot of resources and assets for videos, photos, etc.
Right.
My response is simple. Number one, you're not marketing yourself and you need some help. The people you're targeting don't have much resources or assets. So if they want to advertise, let's say $300 a month to put their digital ad on your website, why don't you offer to shoot a 30-second video for them? And on the end of it, you're going to tag the name of your organization and your website. By the way, you can do this. Shoot a video, a 30-second video, and edit it in less than 5 minutes with TikTok is a great example. I'll put it on my website, give it to them. They're going to post on all their social media, their website. The next thing you know, you're getting all this free marketing while building value for them in return. So there's just so many creative ways, Tim, to get out there with not spending a lot of money and still get your message out.
And you guys are doing TikTok now, right? Like, let's stop on that for a second, because I think TikTok's a good example of one of those like more emergent social medias that people have heard of, but a lot of people probably 40 and up don't have TikTok or don't plan to have TikTok, right? But yet it's getting a ton of traffic. So what are your thoughts on Snapchat, TikTok, Gas, all these newer emergent social medias? Like, do you see them as just totally awareness play? Do you think they're going to sell cars? Like, what do you, when you're deciding where to put your dollars, how are you making that decision, especially on social?
Yes, yes, and yes. And let me explain. I mean, our
Okay.
primary demographic is going to be in age 35 to 55. But the
Okay.
reality is the younger people are going to be our upcoming demographic, and they're often neglected by people in our industry.
Hmm.
I just got the results of a Marshall brand study for our market. And the greatest penetration we have, Tim, is with the 18 to 25-year olds. And I know it's because we're the only people out there in TikTok. We're the only people aggressively working Instagram and Snapchat. And it's a combination of building awareness, primarily being where they are at. But we're also educating them on the new way to buy a car, the difference if you buy a car from Jeff Wyler. I will say this could be a whole separate podcast, but we always try to avoid selling directly on social media. I mean, the joke I draw, and probably older people would get it, it's like when one of your friends invites you over for dinner and says, "Oh, by the way, I've got this great opportunity called Amway I want to share with you."
Yeah. Like,
Well,
oh no,
well,
I can't make it.
friends
Yeah.
don't want to be sold.
Yeah.
But if you're social on a social platform, you're going to win. And for us,
Mhm.
it's about building relationships with our customers and especially giving back to the people that give so much to us.
I love that. Yeah. People love to buy, but they hate to be sold.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, a lot of
And
truth.
so, right. So it's like, if you have a business opportunity, great. If you put it out there on social and Jeff doesn't call you, don't go to Jeff and say, "Hey, Jeff, please meet with me. I want to," like, he's not interested. He saw it and he didn't want it. Right.
Yes.
Right. So it's the same thing, right? If Bob calls you, go to Bob. If Sue doesn't, don't go to Sue. So it's this whole idea, right, of like, stay focused on the people, market to everybody, but then focus on the ones who convert. I love that, and I think your point is fair. So last thing I'll say on social, because I think this is really important, Kevin, and I love your thoughts on this. Do you think social media can be used as a conversion platform too, like where you can get direct conversions,
Oh, yeah.
or to your end, is it just get the message out there, be social, spread the word, don't sell, and then let people come and convert when they're ready? Or do you think that, obviously some people here are going to be B2B, they're going to have LinkedIn, they're going to have other ones. Is there a place for trying to push direct conversions from social or social ads? We were trying to sell cars, right? Like Facebook ads. Because I'm asking selfishly because I've heard there's a lot of people who believe Facebook ads, especially in automotive, they're just awareness. They're like, it's just an awareness play. No one's going to buy off of them. It's just a really high end awareness, but it's cheap. And then some dealerships expect, no, I expect my Facebook ads to convert this many used cars, and I expect this to be a conversion mechanism. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts if social can be a direct converting mechanism.
I would say probably our most effective tactic is direct conversion on social media. But let me share this: right message, right time, right place. And it's how you do it. And so we were really innovative on this because you can, everybody on Facebook, you can get targeted audiences, try to put your message out there. You're throwing the bait out in the hook, and hopefully you're bringing them in. What we did was I went out to some of the major automotive website providers. They have all the data that I want, Tim. For example, if I'm trying to sell Hondas within 20-mile radius of one of my dealerships, and their website, they know every single person within 20 miles of that dealership that's searching for Hondas every single day. That's who I want to talk to and get my message in front of. And of course, they can't just give me the data because of privacy. But what I was suggesting was, why don't you take that data, filter it out every day, upload it into a custom audience on Facebook, and then we'll put the cars that they were looking for on that site that we have an inventory in front of them on their
Smart.
social media feed on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm here to tell you it's dirt cheap. It's
Mm.
one of our greatest converters, and consumers like it because they're getting the right message at the right place at the right time. So it's all about how you set things up.
Mm. So if you're going to use social as a direct conversion channel, you have to have done your homework and really know who you're going after, but it can be done.
And the good news is, what is going on in today's market and where it's going is that we have these immense amounts of data, specifically real time data, that has been overwhelming for all of us because there's no way you can sort through all of it and execute upon it. But now there's this new change, and it's called AI. And AI is already learning. This is the fuel you put into there. is learning how to recognize it and execute the best way to put that message in front of them as quickly as possible. And that's part of the reason I'm so excited about where things are going today.
Do you think, how disruptive do you think AI is going to be to modern marketing?
I think it's going to be incredibly disruptive. I think you're going to see, and I think we're already seeing it, more startups than you can ever imagine, because there are so many different directions that you can take with AI right now and to see what works best. And that's even part of what we're beta testing at this point, Tim. I mean, we've done some initial testing. We've had some great success with it. I would counter it with this. I'm an eternal optimist on this stuff, but I do have a fear on the bad side of AI. Of course, we hear a lot in the news about what it can do with politics and
Yep.
social issues. That concerns me. But for marketers like ourselves, we're going to have to watch out in the future for AI that is designed to trick us. Simple example, PMAX. If AI, somebody with bad intent, uses AI to understand what PMAX is optimizing for, number one. Number two, what, for example, automotive people measure as the best engaging traffic. Then
Yep.
number three, they just basically put out a bot that comes in the way PMAX is optimized for, does everything in my website that I would identify as good. I think it's great, and in reality, it's absolute garbage. So there's always
Yep.
two ends of the spectrum of this, and that's part of my concerns for the future as well.
Yeah, and for those who aren't listening, PMAX is Performance Max, which is part of AdWords campaigns. And if they were to build that bot, essentially that bot would look like super ideal traffic, which would absolutely waste your marketing budget, right?
You got it.
It'd
I
be
hope I
it'd
didn't give you
be
some great ideas, Tim.
yeah, no, it's, I mean, I'm not coding that right now as we speak. What a great idea. But I mean, it would basically be like click fraud
Yeah.
on steroids, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So obviously AI is disruptive, and I would agree. I think AI is going to have a huge impact on marketing. It already has. I mean, with us, right? Like we're Noble, and we are an AI driven SEO company. We always have been. So we're obviously bullish on AI, right? But how do you maintain your brand while using AI, right? Because I think one of the biggest challenges, and we've seen this, is if you use ChatGPT or Noble or generative AI tools, a lot of times the feedback we get is, "Hey, this looks really cool, but I read it. It's not really my brand. It's my brand values or my brand voice, or it's not really us, or it uses my competitors' names, or where did you find this data?" Right? How have you found? How do you find that mixture of keeping your brand really strong, but also using AI to like push the limits?
Well, let me give what I think is going to be the best piece of advice for this entire podcast for anybody in business. For every difficult question and decision you face, you really should be asking yourself one simple question. Does this make us more consumer facing? If the answer is yes, you're going to win pretty much every time. If the answer is no, I'm trying to trick or gimmick the consumer or something like that, you're typically going to lose. I share that because for us, our primary brand goal is to be the most consumer facing dealer experience in the industry. So, with that in mind, when we're looking at AI, Tim, we're looking at it from the standpoint, does the experience provide a more consumer facing experience in the website? And I'll give you an example. About 40% of the shopping activity that happens in our automotive websites is outside of dealership hours. And when these people go to the website, pretty much the only ability they have to get a question answered is to fill out a form, which is prehistoric in my eyes, or a chat center that's mediocre to ineffective. And that's only on the website. If you get a third party lead, nothing happens. We brought in AI to start interacting with these people real time. This is consumer facing because they're getting a real time answer that is not only accurate, but we have found is often better than what our own people can do. And as a result, we're actually setting more appointments outside of dealership hours than we ever have before. Why? Because we provided a more consumer facing experience leveraging AI in this case.
That's super interesting. You used AI to make the company's experience, the service quality better.
Mhm.
not to, necessarily disrupt a marketing campaign, but more to use service as marketing, which
Mhm.
was a big missing piece.
Well, we want to take it to the next level, and I'll give you a little peek under the hood of some of the stuff we're testing. So I'll draw a simple example of AI that everybody's familiar with today. You're on your phone, you're starting to text like, "Hey Tim, how?" and then it will auto suggest, "Are you doing?" Correct?
Right.
You
Right.
hit tab. That's just a real simple AI based on historical texting. They're going to try and help you. What we're trying to do is to provide not only a more consumer facing experience, but a more personalized shopping experience. So, what if you came live onto my website? I've got 10 years of chat data. I have all of my CRM data and what we have is called a DMS data of everything we know about you. And you ask a couple questions. And so I start responding, "Hey, Tim, glad that you reached out to us." And then our AI is going to auto suggest, "And thank you for being a customer for the last 12 years. And then you asked me about a special on the Honda Civic. And I'm going to say, "Here's the best deal we have in the Honda Civic." And then it's going to auto suggest and say, "And it's the absolute best Honda Civic deal in town because maybe we've been scraping every dealership website in town and we know via AI." And
Right.
guess what? It'll be a win for you because you not only had a more personalized experience, it's once again going to be more consumer facing. So I hope you can get a little peek inside of what spins the gears in here. That's what's driving us.
It even actually be really cool too if it was super honest, right? You could, and the
Mhm.
person typing said, "We actually don't have the best deal in town. It's over at so and so. It's this price for this Honda Civic, but we'll match it. If you go with me, I'll match their offer." And people are like,
And
"Oh, sweet,
once again, to build upon that, that's leveraging real time data. And
yeah,
that has been the glass wall that I don't think businesses have been able to break at this point because we just don't have the tools to
right."
process it, to be able to execute on it. And when you asked about disruptive and everything, this is one of the huge changes. If people would just see it, it's really going to go to the next level.
Yeah, so it's customization at scale,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not just generic chat prompts, but it's truly customizing based on Kevin Frye, who's been a customer for 12 years, who you can pull his data and hey, you can, hey Kevin, how are you enjoying the Honda Civic? Like, oh, like the one I bought 12 years ago? Yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I sold it to whatever. Oh, what do you have now? But imagine if you could do that across 50,000 customers all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. I mean, the power of that would be unbelievably powerful because it's like having a personal sales rep to every single visitor to your site, which would be insanely powerful.
But that it also uncovers the next issue. And this is just like when I was a cowboy in the Wild West of early e commerce with automotive or writing the book.
Yeah.
How far is too far before you start creeping out the customer with how much you know? And that's part of our active testing right now. We do an annual user experience study. We bring people in our studio. We ask them these questions. Now, the good news I have for marketers out there is this: over 90% of the people that we've spoken and interviewed are well aware that they're already dealing with AI and they're actually quite comfortable with it. Their biggest response, as long as it's quick and accurate, they're good with it.
Okay.
But that creepy thing is the hardest thing to judge. So we're working on that right now. We're probably going to get a couple black eyes in the process.
Yeah.
Once again, it's just the ever nonstop challenges that marketers face each day.
Do you think this is not on our script, but do you think AI is really truly going to replace a lot of, let's call it white collar jobs, right?
Yeah,
Information worker
yeah.
jobs. Like, is that really going to happen?
Well, I think that what Google just laid off 12,000 people after the most profitable quarter ever. Why do you think that is? We spoke about that this morning in our team meeting, and I'll tell you what I
Hmm.
think the answer is. They know that they can replace a lot of those jobs. And I know
Yeah.
people don't like to hear that, but I think economics 101 is you grow through volume and efficiency. In a
Yep.
slow market, it's very difficult to do volume, but efficiency is a constant play. It has always been in any type of capitalist type of marketing setup. And AI drives insane efficiency. If you can get, and we've literally had responses to some of our AI driven chats where people have said, "This is the most educated person I've ever dealt with." And they didn't even realize it wasn't a human
It
being.
was a bot. Yeah.
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 And so, yeah, I do think that's a legitimate concern, but once again, there's also going to be new opportunities in white collar jobs driving these programs, et cetera.
Yeah, because nobody likes, it's not popular as a business owner or executive to talk about how AI is going to replace jobs, right? Because people get concerned, right? Even at our company, it's like, is AI going to replace roles, right? And what we always try to talk about is AI is just moving the ball down the field,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like this has happened many times in technology, right? Like there used to be people, their entire job was you'd call in and be like, Kevin Frye, please, like hold, please, and then she would like move the wires, right? Like you've seen these people, and you're like, that was a job. There's a
Yeah.
lady like moving wires that's like Kevin Frye, Timothy for Kevin Frye, and they're like, whatever. Like that doesn't exist anymore. Like that person lost their job to automatic switching platforms, right? But
Gosh, it's
then
like when they used to have 35 cashiers at Walmart, and now they've got two in self-serve, right? It's never going
100%,
to go away.
because you want to just self-serve the thing and move, right?
Yep.
But for every job of cashier or like phone operator person, 10 new jobs are created in the facility of automatic switching engineer, replacer, and fixer, and installer, and coder, and right. So there is a reskilling thing that's involved, and I think the difficult thing is when the economy moves forward, we as business people have to move with it, right? So we're going to have to learn new skills, and sometimes it requires upskilling and moving.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I used to move the wires, and now I have to learn how the thing is built. Fine, but that's just part of business. I think is our companies had to do that, right? Like we 5 years ago, Helium was like, we're not going to do ads. We're just going to do SEO. And then we learned clients like, we just want you to do ads, please, because it's convenient to have in one place. So we're like, all right, let's do ads. So we had to grow and evolve, right? In 10 years, what services are we going to offer? Whatever the clients want us to offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it just evolved. So I think it is a concern, but I also recommend for people, I think for every one job that gets eliminated, 2 new jobs get created at very higher salaries, but they are going to require a different level of skill set to do those jobs.
I always say keep expanding your skill set. Your marketing toolbox should never end. Just keep adding to it.
All right, so we just have a couple minutes left, and I have a million more questions I could ask, but I'm going to try to narrow it down because we try to keep these to 30, 40 minutes for people driving to work. So I'm going to hit you with a couple quick ones. All right, your most recent marketing campaign. How'd you come up with the idea?
So we're getting ready to launch. Very exciting. We're going to be the first dealership in the country to allow you to sell a new car, buy a new car 100% online. I mean,
Ah,
holy, this is a big deal. And what we did is we sat down, we used UX studies. What are the big concerns for
okay.
people buying 100% online? Biggest concern, especially on pre-owned, is are they getting what they expect, especially a used car? So we figured, you know what? Well, this has a full manufacturer warranty that takes away that concern. The other big thing is they hate waiting 2.5 to 3 hours to go through a new car buying experience. And here we know that they can do it in 30 minutes or less. So we take the two big concerns they've always had before and we turn it into selling points in our marketing campaign, which is all based around buy a new car in 30 minutes or less, 100% online, buy a new car 100% online, full manufacturer warranty, just keeping things really simple.
I love that. I think that's super smart. All right, next question. So this is something we get asked from time to time, right? Bing is now, I would say, on the map with ChatGPT. Do you find, let's talk SEO for a second. Do you find Bing is like really growing now? Is Google still where it's at? Like, what are your thoughts on Bing versus Google SEO? Like, what do you think is changing with AI and the whole landscape?
I think Bing's made a rebound, but I wouldn't call it a primary search engine by any measure. So I'm a bit cynical on that. I'll leave that to you. I used to be a big SEO guru early in the day when it was easy to game Google. Things have become so much more advanced that we want to partner with companies like Helium that can keep us out front with that. But the biggest lesson I think I learned with SEO, and maybe the hard way, Tim, is that just provide good relative content and a relevant superior experience for the consumer, and you're going to win the SEO game.
Man, I couldn't agree more. There's this thing now called EEAT, right? It stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Mhm.
And companies have missed the boat on that by saying, oh, let's do black hat tactics or quick win stuff or stuff that's in our site. That's not what Google wants. Like Google wants quality content that's good for the users. That's a great experience. Like you mentioned, how to use AI to improve your customer experience and customer facing, nature. That's 100% what Google wants too. They want your site to be a great experience, load quickly, real content, educational, informative. So the advice we would give to dealers or to brands of any type is think about creating content the way that you talked about your brand. Make it as customer facing and as good for the customer as you possibly can. Create really good articles, make them long, make them have references in them, have great imagery, make it a great experience, make it load quickly. Everything that you want when you visit an educational, informative site. Don't overly sell and give people great information, and Google is going to reward that. And of course, you got to build links, and there's technical pieces to it, but that you can't. There is absolutely no replacement for quality content written well on a good website.
It's amazing if you're genuine and authentic with the content you're posting, you're going to be rewarded.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you think about Google's business model, right? What do they care about? Google wants to sell ads. I think they did 260 billion in revenue last year on Google AdWords. Almost 300 billion. It's insane. But people don't click on ads unless the search results, which the organic part is good, right? If those are not good results. So if you don't have really quality content at the top of your search engine, people won't search it to click on your ads. So it's Google has this game of constantly trying to get people to create the best organic content so that they can run the best ads, right? So here's a couple pieces of advice I would give people on that. Google does not care about your brand. They don't care about your content. They don't care about you. They care about Google, right? And what Google cares about is great content at the top, not your content at the top, the best content at the top, right? And they want the most authoritative and the most relevant for that searcher and that exact location of time, right? And they use AI as much as they can. So think about, what are my keywords? What am I going after? Who am I marketing to? What location? Is this location based or US based? Create that best possible content and you're going to be in pretty good shape. But you're spot on, right? It's all about that game. And
I'm
then
a reformed black hatter, Tim, so I've come back to the side.
Hey, the best
20
SEOs
years ago, cut me some slack.
No, man, the best SEOs start by doing black hat and learning all the tricks of the trade and then realizing that doesn't last. Black hat doesn't work long term. It only works in a short term. So over time, I think the best SEOs, they learn black hat stuff, they learn gray hat, they learn white hat, and they learn how to do white hat SEO while pushing the boundaries. Right? Because, right, like if you're not pushing those boundaries, you're not cutting edge, you're never going to win. But if you go all the way into black hat, it's too risky and you're probably going to get penalized, right? So it's a balancing act. All right, so Kevin, this has been fantastic. Last question, which is, I want to circle back to this, new technology and marketing. What are you most excited about? Because you're a technologist at heart. You love new things. What are you keeping your eye on? What is the new tech coming out that you're specifically waiting to use or watching to use or starting to use? Just want to pass this along to the audience because I'm sure they would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I feel like we're a little bit behind the curve on this, and this is just leveraging our own data. Automotive, we're very sloppy with our data. We have about 12 to 13 data sources per dealership. So a customer data platform, we're a little bit late to the game. A lot of the Fortune 500s are already there. But that's what I'm most excited about, is where we're consolidating all of our data into one location, completing some data hygiene on it. But more exciting, we're leveraging third-party data alongside of our first-party data to be able to create highly targeted audiences that we've never been able to do before. And the final thing, which I keep coming back to, is AI is the technology we've been missing all this time to leverage that all-important real-time data. So I'm really excited about the next couple of years, what we're going to be able to do with that, and the unlimited customer service we're going to provide with some of these personalized experiences.
Amazing. Well, Kevin, thanks so much for having us on the podcast. We're out of time now, but thanks for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it. If the listeners would ever want to get a hold of you or reach out, what would you recommend? What's the best way to reach out to you if they have questions or just want to connect?
You can always give me an email at kevin.frye.frye@jeffwyler.com.
And guys, for those of you listening or watching, hopefully you're not watching while driving, but I've been there. I admit it. I'm sorry. But if you guys don't follow Jeff Wyler on social, go out there and give him a follow. You guys, they're doing great TikToks. They're doing all kinds of campaigns. Their TV ads are cutting edge. That'll be a whole nother conversation of like your guys' epic in-house studio, and the cameras you guys have is ridiculous. But give them a follow on social media. And if you do need a new car, they've got plenty to fill your guys' needs. So send them over that way. And I'm sure Kevin's got a discount code for you or something if you mention the podcast. We'll have to figure all that out
all right,
later.
Thanks, Tim. I enjoyed it.
Kevin, I appreciate it. Thanks for having on, man.
Take care.